The room didn't just go quiet, it collapsed into silence. Not the normal kind where people sip water and pretend nothing happened. No, this was the kind that sits heavy in your chest, like even breathing feels loud. My sister froze mid-laugh. My mom's glass stopped halfway to her lips. And my dad? He just stared at me like I'd said something illegal. And for the first time in 42 years, I didn't fix it. I didn't smile. I didn't soften my words. I let it sit there. My name is Lillian Carter, I said, steady, calm, scary calm. And no, I'm not broke. You ever have a moment where your whole life splits into before and after? Yeah, that was mine. But let me rewind, because none of this started at that dinner. It started 3 weeks earlier, on a random Thursday that smelled like fresh paperwork and quiet endings. I had just sold my business. Not some small thing, not a side hustle. I'm talking about a logistics company I built from scratch over 18 years. Late nights, missed holidays, ramen dinners when I couldn't afford anything better. The whole grind. And I sold it for $9.8 million. Yeah, I still remember the number like it's tattooed on my brain. My husband, Daniel, was sitting next to me when I signed the last paper. He didn't cheer, didn't clap. He just squeezed my hand and said, "You did it." That hit harder than any celebration ever could. But here's the thing. Daniel had been watching something I kept ignoring. Patterns, people, behavior, my family. That same night, we sat at our kitchen table. No music, no TV, just us and truth. He slid a notebook toward me. "Before you tell them," he said quietly, "look at this." I laughed a little. "What is this? Budget review?" He didn't laugh back. It was a list. Every transfer, every loan, every emergency I'd covered in the last 12 years. $5,000 for my sister's rent, $12,000 for my parents' medical bill, $3,500 here, $8,000 there. Page after page. Total? $289,000. I swear, my brain couldn't process it at first. "That can't be right," I whispered. Daniel just looked at me. "It is." Then he said something that changed everything. "Have they ever given you anything back?" Silence. Because we both knew the answer. No. Not money, not time, not even basic support. When my business almost crashed during year 5, no one showed up. When I had surgery, my mom called 3 days later to ask for help with her electric bill. And I still helped. Because family, right? Yeah, that lie. Daniel leaned back in his chair. "If you tell them you're a millionaire now, they'll love you louder than ever." I frowned. They already love me. He didn't argue. He just said, "Then let's test it." I should have said no. I should have trusted my gut. But deep down, I needed to know. So the next morning, I called my mom. "Hey," I said, trying to sound normal, "there's something I need to tell you." Her voice was soft, sweet, almost too sweet. "What happened, honey?" I took a breath. "I lost the business. Everything's gone. I'm in debt." Silence. Not concern, not panic, just silence. Then she said, "What about the money we talked about for next month?" I blinked. "I don't have it, Mom." A pause. Then a sigh. "You always take risks like this, Lillian. I told you to be more careful." Click. She hung up. Just like that. No, "Are you okay?" No, "Where will you go?" Nothing. I sat there staring at my phone like, what just happened? But it got worse. I called my sister, Jenna. She didn't even pretend. "You're joking, right? I was counting on you. I have payments due." "I just told you I lost everything." "Yeah, well, figure it out. You always do." And she hung up too. I wish I could tell you I cried. I didn't, because something inside me just went cold. That same afternoon, I found out the truth wasn't just ugly, it was calculated. There was a group chat, one I didn't even know about. My mom, my sister. Planning. Actual messages like, call her when she's emotional, she'll send faster. Say it's urgent, she won't ask questions. I read those texts 3 times. 3, because I needed to be sure my brain wasn't making it up. That's when it hit me. I wasn't helping my family. I was funding them. And they knew exactly how to pull the strings. That night, Daniel didn't say, I told you so. He just asked one question. What are you going to do now? And for the first time in my whole life, I didn't have an answer. But I knew one thing for sure. The version of me they were used to? Yeah, she was done. 2 days later, my mom called again. This time, her voice was softer, almost careful. Lillian, about the anniversary dinner this weekend, she said, maybe it's better if you don't come. I smiled. Not because it was funny, but because now I understood everything. They weren't worried about me. They were worried about how I looked. Don't worry, I said calmly. I won't embarrass you. And I hung up. But here's the thing. I still went. Of course I did. The restaurant was packed. Family, friends, neighbors, people who had watched me grow up. And I could feel it the second I walked in. The whispers, the pity. Oh, that's her, the one who lost everything. Yeah, my mom had already spread the story. I sat down quietly with Daniel, didn't argue, didn't react. I just waited, because sometimes the loudest move is patience. Halfway through dinner, my sister stood up. Big smile, fake energy. We have exciting news, she said. She started talking about a new house, new plans, big life moves. And then she looked straight at me. And I just want to say, even though things are hard for Lillian right now, we'll always support her. The room melted. People nodded. Some even looked emotional. I almost laughed. Support me? You couldn't even ask if I was okay. That's when I stood up. No anger, no drama, just calm. Actually, I said, my voice steady, I think we should be honest tonight. The room went silent again. My mom froze. My sister's smile cracked. I'm not broke. You could feel the air shift. I sold my company 3 weeks ago. $9.8 million. Someone dropped a fork. My sister's face? Yeah, completely drained. My mom stepped forward. Lillian, this is not the time. No, I said softly, this is exactly the time. I pulled out my phone, because when I told you I lost everything, this is what you said. And I read it, word for word. The calls, the group chat messages, the planning, everything. No yelling, no exaggeration, just truth. Raw, clean, undeniable. Nobody spoke, not one person, because lies are loud, but truth? Truth doesn't need volume, it just hits. My sister tried to talk. I didn't mean... But her voice didn't even sound convincing to herself. My mom looked around the room, desperate for control, but it was gone, completely gone. I looked at them one last time, not with anger, not even with hate, just clarity. I spent years thinking I had to earn love, but love that needs money isn't love. Then I took Daniel's hand, and we walked out. No one stopped us, no one called my name, because deep down, everyone knew. The messages started the next day. I'm sorry. You misunderstood. Let's talk. Yeah, suddenly everyone had words. Funny how that works. But this time, I didn't reply. Not out of revenge, not out of pain, but because for the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to fix something that was never real. A month later, Daniel and I moved. New place, new start. Smaller, quieter, ours. And one morning, sitting on the porch with coffee in my hand, I realized something. I didn't feel heavy anymore. No pressure, no expectations, no silent transactions disguised as love. Just peace. And if you're listening to this right now, and you feel like the one who always gives, the one who always fixes, the one who feels used but stays quiet, let me tell you something real. You're not selfish for setting boundaries. You're not wrong for choosing yourself. And you are definitely not an ATM for people who only remember you when they need something. My name is Lillian Carter, and losing their version of family was the first time I finally found myself.